Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
Smooth stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the DRSCCA Sim Racing Series. It's Season 1, Round 2, my home track, Michelin Road, Atlanta. My name is James Eastbury, the Action 1080p 60 frames a second. On behalf of Team Goose Squad, looking forward to see how it's going to go, and I'm accompanied by the world-famous Australian Gareth McAllister. Gareth, welcome back to Season 1, Round 2 of this series.
Yeah, thanks, James. It's nice to be back. I called the action by myself in the first race of the series. We were at Sebring International. So it's really nice to be back once again, and this time accompanied by yourself. It's going to be a lot of action and a lot of fun.
Now, Gareth, I wasn't able to make it to the first round, so I'm super excited to see what's going to happen here for round 2, but I know it was an action-packed. We've got about 15 minutes left of quali as Ryan Carwile is taking that number 71 machine back out, but kind of walk us through what happened at Sebring. I see that Carwile currently on pole here. Well, I say that, gets upended by the number 27, but I see he's coming tonight as the points leader.
Yeah, it was an absolutely amazing race between really all of the drivers, but out front there was a bit of calamity with a few drivers, and you know, some taking the lead. You could argue that maybe Carwile won with a bit of luck on his side as well, with a bit of contact with drivers heading up the front. If you haven't watched the race, definitely go back and watch it. It was a great one to watch, but yeah, a lot of action, and if that race was anything to go by, we're looking in for another really good one upcoming.
Now, yeah, I heard there was a ton of fireworks there. A lot of drivers having to go home a little bit early, but I'm excited to see what's going to happen here at Road Atlanta. Now, Carwile was the pole setter, and you might have to correct me on this. It's Ari Ritter is the number 27, correct?
Yes, he is. And,
okay.
You know, he's been showing up, and he's been putting in the work as well. So, again, you know, just so many drivers are coming out here, and let's be honest, I mean, we talked about it last week, and we'll say it again, James, but these drivers, more often than not, a lot of them, it's their second race, and it might even be their first for some of these drivers on a road course, on the simulator. These drivers, some of them are used to racing in the real world, and it's not exactly one-to-one, but it's pretty close from what I hear. But you know, there's still a few little nuances that will be different, definitely, as you try and get used to driving in a simulator.
Yeah, I mean, we've called hundreds and hundreds of iRacing events over the past few years here at TGS, but I've got to say, this is the first series that I've ever called that makes it a point to bridge the gap between real-life race cars that race in the Detroit SCCA series and kind of bring it onto the sim. So these guys that are normally going elbow out on a real-life racetrack, having the chance to do it virtual, a little bit cheaper, but good camaraderie being built up. We've got a lot of fans joining us already here as well on the YouTube side of the broadcast. We got Sean Fallahy, I think that's pronounced right, cheering on Chad. Pat Kenny's cheering on Crosby. And Brandon Hancock cheering on Andrew, saying it's going to be a good one. So good to see the fans coming out supporting some of their favorite real-life drivers, and a few sim guys in the mix here as well. So the DRSCCA Sim Racing League does allow drivers into this series that aren't a part of the real-life racing club, but only the club members will be scoring points throughout this series. So I think it's a really cool way they've kind of integrated that and kind of building up the brand equity, getting all these drivers further invested, and a good chance to hang out. I know as a former racer myself, sometimes when it's a race weekend, you don't really have that much time to wander the paddock and and say hey to all their friends out on track. So for me, this is really rings true to home on, kind of getting to hang out with the guys that you see every week, but maybe don't get to talk to as much.
Yeah, I think it's a real special sort of, like you said, camaraderie between all these drivers, and I think it's really special to see them finally trying to maybe get in and to the sim aspect of the world of racing and try and integrate that into the real life thing. Maybe see a few new faces, get a few more people involved, and I mean, you can't speak much else about the car track combos that these guys will be going to over the next few weeks as well. I believe next race we have VIR, and this Ford Spec Racer is just, it's a really fun, easy car to drive. Not too nuanced. It's it's pretty bare bones, and it's just a good, fun car to drive as well. And I hear that they race them a little bit in real life as well, so maybe a bit of experience there coming in as well.
Yeah, I'd be curious to ask. We're going to have the DRSCCA president join us after quali, but I'd be interested to talk to him as well, how much difference there is between the virtual Spec Ford racer and what they run at the Detroit SCCA. But look at that. There's going to be problems here in qualifying. That's Ritter getting tagged by the number 21, I believe it was. See if I can catch a name on that one. That was going into 10A, 10B. I didn't quite catch a name and see who that number 21 was out on track, but that is not what the current pole setter was looking for on that one.
I believe it might have been Matthew Malone. I'm not sure if his car number matches up correctly with our time screen, or maybe it wasn't. But
let's get a replay queued up of that.
Well, that's how we know.
Yeah, we'll know for certain. Then it's gonna be diving into 10. I could have sworn it was the 21, maybe the 71 of Carwile. Let's see, no, it wasn't the 71. Shows 21 on the side there.
Sometimes we do have this issue. Oh yeah, there was.
Dustin Crooks is who it was.
Dustin Crooks. Well, I mean, it's sometimes hard with these drivers as well. Sometimes the displays that we have in front of us don't quite match the driver numbers perfectly. More often than not, it's pretty good, but on the odd occasion, it doesn't quite line up as well as it should. But I tell you what, I mean, these guys as well have a lot of sponsor backing, which is really nice to see as well, James. They really want to thank the Michigan Turn Marshals. I know that's a big support for the DRSCCA, and they do a fair bit for them, and they also support races like the Detroit Grand Prix. And I mean, if you want to get close to the action and help out around racing circuits, definitely have a look at Turn Marshals, MichiganTurnMarshals.org, but also the Waterford Hills Racetrack, which is, I believe, the local track for our president at the DRSCCA. I believe that that's his local track, and it's only a $5 entry to go in there and watch some cars go around a track. So that sounds pretty good to me. I was talking to you before the top of the show, James, but I wish there was a bit more opportunity around down my part of the world, but it seems like there's quite a bit going on in good old US of A, and I highly encourage people to take advantage, maybe sink some beers and watch some cars go around a track.
Yeah, I mean, either one of those sponsors, as we watch Dustin Crooks have a little bit of a flyby there going into turn 5 of Spectator Hill, but either one of those sponsors, Michigan Turn Marshals or heading out to Waterford yourself, both get you right by the track. I am personally a huge fan of the Turn Marshals corner workers in Michigan, as I have had an asphalt sample racing sport bikes at Groton Raceway, kind of near Grand Rapids, and let me tell you, those trackside workers are your best friends if you're ever in need. So huge tip of the hat to all the safety marshals, turn marshals out there across the U.S. Those guys definitely keep you pointing in the right direction, and they're always in your corner. And if you're interested in volunteering, I've got to say, as a racer and somebody who's done race control and corner working as well, some of the best seats in the house And then if you don't want to go work and, as you said, have a pint with the boys and watch some good racing, I mean, $5 to get into your local track, you can't beat that. I mean, that's cheaper than going to the movies one night.
Absolutely. And, I don't know about you, but there's not a whole lot of movies that I want to see at the moment. So I'd rather definitely watching cars go around a track, especially since apparently the track is hot from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on most event days and open to the public. So, I mean, that sounds like a good time to me. Talk about bang for your buck, James.
Yeah, it's arguably better than Road Atlanta that we're virtually at today. Road Atlanta, I believe, has a 2-hour quiet hour on Sunday. I want to say it's from 10 a.m. to noon, that there are no race engines allowed during that time. So there's a little bit of trackside trivia for the fans at home. And speaking of fans, we got Russell Soto tune in, watching us. I think he's on vacation, so not able to make it tonight. We've got Mason Timon joining us. We've got Corey joining the show, and membership chair cheering on Alex. I believe that's got to be Della Torre in the 99 machine getting some love, and membership chair also thanking the sponsors as well and kind of tipping the virtual hat there.
Yeah, it's I tell you what, I will say, James, this is one of the most supportive groups I think we've ever had the pleasure of broadcasting on our channel, and it seems like their community is very tight-knit and also very open to newcomers and new members alike, whether you want to get involved in the real life stuff or just virtually and just come and have a great race with a whole bunch of people. It seems like it's a very big community, but also very down to earth and a lot of love being shown.
Yeah, I mean, that's par for the course of every club racing experience I've ever had over my 10-some-odd year career. It's a large, dysfunctional family off the track, and when the visors go down on track, it's all business for these racers. I'm super excited to get Della Torre up here in the booth as well. I've got a bunch of Spec Racer questions for him because this seems like a lot of fun, but look at that, who's just taken over on pole.
Whoa.
It's the cow-painted 91 machine of Elliot Budzinski.
And right in front of him, we had a little bit of a, well, I say little bit, it sounded like quite a big issue, but hopefully those drivers are doing all right, whoever was involved in that one. But yeah, I love the cow paint scheme. I mean, I don't know, it just seems to suit this car so well.
Yeah, that's Elliott in that number 91 machine. Clicked off pole position 0.07 of a second faster than Ari Ritter in the number 27. So not a lot of time left for these drivers to click off some hot laps. It's about 1 minute and 32 seconds. The minute 34 is what we're seeing from most of the field, and a very tight spread here in qualifying. Right now, Budzinski on pole with a 132.76. I mean, you can go all the way back to 17th in the field, separated by a total of 2.5 seconds here. So a very tight field, and I think once we get these guys charging in mass into turn 1 during our feature event, this is going to be a pretty spectacular show. And here's, we've got 29 drivers that enter tonight. That is a huge grid for a new iRacing series.
It's absolutely massive, and that's that's what I was talking about. Like, their community is fairly big, but it's all love. And I tell you what, 29 cars, like you said, I mean, that's probably the biggest road racing grid, at least that I can remember, that I've ever had the pleasure of calling. I think only beaten out to a couple of specific races from our oval sides of things, but I tell you what, that is pretty phenomenal, like you said, especially for the opening season. So all of these drivers coming out, everyone showing a lot of love and support. But yeah, we're getting close to the end of quali, and something else for these drivers to think about. We do have a rolling start. We've got a drive-through at 17 incidents. It's been increased from the 13 we had last week, just to allow some of the new drivers to just have a few more spins and not be too much of a slap on the wrist too quickly, and let everyone feel out how they're going. They've got every 5 incidents after that 17, another drive-through will be given fixed setups. They've got the same toe and you're out rule that we see in a couple other series that we broadcast, which basically just means if these drivers have so much damage they can't drive under their own steam to pit road, then they're out of the race. and a couple drop weeks as well to help these drivers out. So this racing series is very forgiving and very open to new drivers.
Yeah, it looks like a ton of fun. If I wasn't calling this one, I think I'd be out on track because these car and track combinations, spec car, the only thing these drivers can really change is their brake bias during the event. So very identically matched machine, and all comes down to the driver. And these club level tracks, super, super fun to turn a wheel on. And right now we've got about a minute 15 seconds left in quali. Our top 3 drivers all on pit road, so I don't think they're going to be going back out. It's going to be up to Ryan Carwile on the number 71 machine. He's trying to catch a toe here on what should be his final lap to see if he can improve on the 4th place qualifying position. But there is no more time left here at Road Atlanta, Gareth. And we've got 16 drivers within a second and a half of their race leader. This is going to be quite the show if they can keep it on track, as we watch Jason Williams have a big moment there.
Yeah, very, very big moment, especially for Carwile just behind, who is trying his absolute best to increase his time and maybe, well, I should say lower his time really from our perspective, and try to get himself up into the top 3 spots to begin this one. And look, I mean, they've got a bit of a warm-up before we get going, but this qualifying session, like you said, if there's anything to go by, I think we're going to have a lot of company around these drivers heading into the first few laps and maybe even the whole of the race.
Yeah, 27 drivers have put down qualifying times. Scott Shakin and Corey Gordner have yet to put down times here. So I'll be curious to see if they're able to get out on track or maybe have some sort of issue. Actually, no, I stand corrected. Corey in the number 198 is for certain not going to be joining us out on track. He let us know that won't be able to run here tonight, but still supporting his fellow DRSCCA racers. So good for Corey. Still supporting the guys, even though he's not going to be out on track. And it looks like Bazinski in that number 91 machine is going to lock up the top spot in quali. I don't see anybody else out on track who might be on a burner of a lap time here. So I think that 91 might have locked up the pole position.
Yeah, it looks like it. And it has to be said, speaking of, I was about to say that's a phenomenal time. That was a phenomenal drift out of Carwile. Not sure how he managed to hold that one together, all 4 wheels sliding. So, but I'll tell you what, we have seen a few good saves in the first race as well. So if the car control is just next level.
Yeah, these guys, and especially these spec Fords, able to kind of fling them around a little bit. As you were saying, ton of fun to drive. Very light race cars. Top speed, not incredibly quick. Here at Road Atlanta in the backstretch, I think the fastest speed I saw was about mid 130 miles an hour. So definitely not slow by any stretch of the imagination, but this isn't a Formula One machine where every little mistake is going to get rapidly compounded by pace. So going to be interesting to see how this one works now. It looks like, yes, quali is officially done here. We're going to try and get Delatorre up here in the booth here shortly, but we've got 10 minutes. We're going to send him out here for round 2, and I think I am personally very excited and he will show up. Welcome, Delatorre, to the broadcast booth. Alejandro, probably the number 99 machine. Give me your background. Tell me where you're from and why this series is so important to you.
What's going on? Yeah, Alejandro Delatorre, otherwise known as Alex. Here from the Detroit Region Sports Car Club of America and Waterford Hills Road Racing as well. The series is important to us as we mentioned last week. We're building a bridge between people that get on the sim and people that get on the track. We get lots of questions in both directions. How do you do one or the other? It's a minority that actually does both. So we're hoping to build that bridge and get some people out to the track and get people like me out on the sim. This is still new, uncharted water for me, which I'm loving it. I'm getting a lot of the young folk and the seasoned folk that have been on the simulator game a lot longer than I have. And when I say game, I don't mean video game, but I mean they're on their game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my background, brother.
So Alex, with kind of bridging that gap between sim and real life, I'm doing big air quotes here, real life racing and even track days. I've seen guys put tons of money into a simulator. How cost efficient is it to get into something like a spec car for these drivers?
It depends at whether they want to get into a Gen 3 car or do they want to go old school and get into a Sport Renault or a Gen 2 car, which at one point, each and every one of those were the spec cars. So they range anywhere. You could pick up a Renault for 5, 6 grand. You could pick up Gen 2 for 9 to 15. And the Gen 3s, I do have to say, they get a little bit more cost prohibitive, but not much more than a spec Miata. You can pick one up with an H pattern for about 25. If you want to have one built custom, get all the bells and whistles, you're north of 50 there.
Well,
But that is brand new and out of the box too.
yeah, I mean, as far as getting to go play race car driver, that seems pretty affordable, all things considered.
Yeah, relatively speaking, especially because you are you're in a competitive class, right? This class is very much about the driver. It's not about how much money you can put into your car. It's like we're all learning, over the last 2 weeks because we haven't made it about setup either, but what you lose in the corners, you're going to lose on the straights. So you better be a good wheel. You better be able to drive with your feet. So it's really about the competition. It's not about how much money you're dumping into a car, but rather how well you can wheel behind the wheel.
Yeah, I'm super excited to watch it. Spec cars, my home track. That's a perfect combination. And Alex, talk to me about the sponsors. I know we have the Michigan Turn Marshals, and I know we have your local racetrack. I was telling before you had in the booth, as somebody who's left a skid mark across the asphalt at Groton, I know how important the track marshals are to me. But what do those two sponsors bring to both the real life and the virtual series here at DRSCCA?
Absolutely. First of all, racing does not happen across America, whether it be amateur or pro racing, without turn marshals. Those guys are out there in the elements for 10 plus hours a day. Here in Detroit, we support the Detroit Grand Prix as well as races at Waterford. The same guys that come to Waterford Hills go all the way down to 12 hours of Sebring or 24 hours of Le Mans or once again the Detroit Grand Prix. So I always tell people those are my biggest fans. I love to wave at those guys and make sure that they're having fun at the track because without them, we're not having any fun. And sometimes they're also your best coaches. Step up to those guys after a race and ask them how your line looked compared to everybody else. So we can't do it without them. So we're here to represent them and say, thank you, volunteers. What you do is amazing for us. Now, as far as Waterford Hills goes, Waterford Hills has been around since 1958. Once again, volunteer-based track. Been doing wheel-to-wheel racing, ever since. Directly, we're a 1.5-mile track, 13 turns, and we host SCCA races as well. We have a 6-weekend series as well as vintage races. Plus, we do open track days. We have 9 of those a year. We do bracket racing there. So it's really for the people that want to know, how do I get on track, right? I've had a lot of questions from some of these sim guys like, well, how do you get on track? Well, you know what? You got a Honda Civic, you got a Golf, you got a Miata. You can come out for an open track day. You got to pass your safety inspection. You can do a track day. That's fantastic. And if you want to get into racing, we have a competition driving school. April 6th is our classroom. April 27th and 28th is our track day. Go to Motorsports Reg or go to the waterfordhills.com website to learn a little bit more about the school, to check out our schedule, and to get involved. 90% of the people that are online right now are from Metro Detroit. I hate to say it, but Waterford Hills for a long time, our marketing slogan was Oakland County's best kept secret. Which we should be a little bit more open as to who knows about us, because we should be standing room only. I invited Gareth, and I'll invite you. Come on out. Try out the track. It's pretty darn amazing. Our moniker is, if you can drive here, you can drive anywhere.
Now, how would that compare to someplace like Groton, or that's probably the only close comparative I think I would have up in Michigan.
That's good. It's like a mini Groton, right? There's lots of elevation changes where even a Miata, you lose sight of the track underneath you, that there's so much of an elevation change. We've got S's, we've got a carousel, we've got, we've got a really fast kink throughout there. So we can get a lot of good speed going, and we can, your wheel is basically straight only down the back straight. The rest of the time, your wheel is turned. There's no, I hate to say it, Road Atlanta, there's such a long, boring straight in a couple different places that you're checking your email while you're going down that straight. At Waterford Hills, there's none of that. Your hands are busy, busy, busy.
I'm laughing because I've experienced that. So I've raced Road Atlanta a ton on motorcycles, and did one race at 24 Hours of Lemons there. And as much as I love Road Atlanta, I will die on this hill. You're right. You have time to rethink your life choices, especially if you blow it out of 7. That is a long time to contemplate before 10A.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much, though. I great questions. I encourage both sides of the fence to come out here and try this. I mean, I think we have 26 cars on track today. The only reason I know that is because I think I'm in P26 in qualifying. I'm usually the slowest guy out there, but I'll catch somebody. Somebody will crash out, and maybe I'll get a P25 out of this.
So Alex, Waterford is only 12 hours away from where I'm at. Would you ever consider allowing a sport bike out on your track?
Unfortunately, sport bikes are not allowed on the track.
Is it a runoff or barrier issue?
Yeah. Runoff is no good out there. So it's for your safety more than anything.
Well, hey, that's a great reason. As a sport bike guy, we always appreciate it. There's definitely some tracks that don't play nicely, but you talked about track days and, taking out a Civic, a Miata. What is required for a regular guy to have one of those cars prepped, come out, and turn some laps with you guys?
First of all, a Snell 2010 helmet, but even if you don't have one, we have them for rental, right? I think it's $25 for the day. You basically have to go through your car and make sure that you've got no leaky fluids, your battery's tied down, your wheel bearings are good, your lugs are torqued, you're at the proper tire pressure. It's got to be a decent looking car. You can't have huge holes of rust in there. Everything out of the vehicle as well. And especially the open track day guys, they do a fantastic job providing instruction and the driver meeting. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Ed Frank Clutch that's been running our OTD program for many, many, many years. And it sells out just about every time. So, get in there early and register early. But I started at a 92 Civic SI. We get people out there and maybe their mom's Honda Accord from what I've seen. And then you get some people that get a little bit more serious. They buy Corvettes. They come out with that stuff. But we also encourage you then to move up to bracket racing. We strap a transponder on your car. We give you the real world track experience where you're in the pits, you're on grid, you have a pace car. There's a green flag that drops, and we're looking for consistency out of those individuals at that point. And that's a good graduation point after doing a handful of open track days. And eventually, it's great if you evolve into road racing. Waterford Hills has it all, right? Wow. We've got everything from the basics of open track days all the ways to full-fledged road racing and even volunteering. That's where you go full circle. You come all the way back. You help out the people like somebody helped you out when you first started getting on track. Your first day on track, you get the butterflies and you're like, what do I do? Where do I go? Let me jump in the car with you and show you the line and walk you through this thing.
Well, that's what's cool about the race family, dysfunctional on and off the track. Alex, I know you've got to get ready for this main event, but thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we're going to be talking a bunch in the future as I look forward to visiting Michigan and you guys, and we wish you the best of luck out on track tonight.
Thanks, James.
Thank you, sir. Gareth, that was the DRSCCA head honcho, Alex Alejandro. Looks like we are ready to go racing, though, my friend.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it, and we're gonna have to roll through this grid pretty quickly, James, because
yes, I see
there's
that.
not gonna be much time.
So starting in 10A, 10B, get ready to do my best auctioneer impression. Starting on pole, Elliot Bazinski in the number 91 machine. Ari Ritter starting second. Keith Derringer starting third. Ryan Carwile starts fourth. David Bauer starting fifth. Matthew Malone starting sixth. Trent McMillan will be starting seventh. Sean Fritz starting eighth. Dustin Crook starting ninth. Patrick Wallagore starting 10th. We got Mike Knudsen starting 11th. Jay Lasco starting 12th. Cycled on back to Chad Geidel starting 13th. Dominic Bates starting 14th. Michael Schmidt starting 15th. Andrew Gross starting 16th. Nathan Crosty starting 17th. Richard Shabe starting 18th. David Grzinski starting 19th. Jonathan Edwards starting 20th. Da Chang starting 21st. Keith Roberts starting 22nd. Jace Williams starting 23rd. Michael Rodriguez starts 24th. And one more row to go. Logan McDonough starting 25th. Alejandro De La Torre starts 26th. Drew Darling starts 27th. Scott Shakin 28th. And Corey Gordner starting 29th. We did it.
That was amazingly quickly. I think you've done that phenomenally well there, James. But here we go, and we're going green. And it looks already like Budzinski has a pretty nice line, but they're fanning out all over the track already.
We got somebody off in the grass there before turn 1. That was Jay Lasco, finding himself getting pushed a little bit wide through turn 12. That's a rough place to start when you're still charging down the hill in 12 before you can really get properly into turn 1. But Budzinski is going to get on it quick. But look at this battle for around third place. You've got Ari Ritter in third, David Bauer, Ryan Carwile, Trent McMillan. It is very, very heated as they funnel through the S's.
Yeah, Budzinski's going to be very, very happy to see that happen and is trying to use this advantage that he has out in front to just get away from these drivers. But as you said earlier on, you know, as Alejandro said as well, you know, down that back straight, there's a lot of time to be gained, especially in the draft. So he might not get away as quickly as he wants to. As you can see, just a beautiful single car file line, almost all the way. We had a little blue car off in the distance there that went slightly off track.
I think that was Edwards, the number 20 machine. He's still holding on to the 20th place spot, but that has caused a little bit of a checkup behind him with Grzinski. But I'm going to go a little bit further up front where we got some side-by-side. This is going to be the hot spot of contention into 10A. I think we're going to see some big moves under braking if they can make it happen. Andrew Gross takes a peek in the 69 machine. Not quite able to get around Knudsen in the 383 there. And I've got to say, it's a busy field, and it looks like we've got through lap 1 very, very cleanly here.
Absolutely, and it looks like a little bit of dirt tracking there as Andrew Gross makes his way up another spot. And I believe actually lost one just there to Chad Geidel, who went off the track there with a bit of an overtake gone wrong slightly. So Andrew Gross going to keep up the momentum and gain 3 spots so far. Now he's got a lot of support in the commentary.
Oh, there's something going on up there.
In the spectator area as well, and we'll take a look. The 99 machine is
That's De La Torre.
Direction. That is De La Torre. So the president going for a little bit of a
Get the replay queued up. Drew Darling also took a tow somewhere involved in that incident. That's not the right. There we go. There's Del Torre, the 99 machine. Looks like this is going to be into the S's here. Now I'm curious to see. Oh, just gets clobbered there. And was there somebody else behind? I wonder if that was Drew Darling. I saw some body work. Yes, flying into the air. That was Drew Darling, number 25, and he's going to take a tow. And while that's been going on, Garrett, that big moment, the field is starting to catch up to Budzinski running up front in the 91 machine.
Yeah, the cow machine has been caught pretty rapidly. But Ryan Carwile as well, right on the back bumper of Ritter. And, I mean, this whole line right in front that we can see here, about 1st to 8th on back, is looking very, very close indeed, as they're basically snaking their way in front of everyone else. I think we have a little bit of an incident with Brzezinski a little further down the track.
Yeah.
Having a bit of a spin.
Take a look. I think that was that either in a 10A or 12, I think. Makes it through A, off track through B, and finds himself pointing the wrong direction there. There's another incident as well, a separate incident, I believe Sean Fritz, the number 19 machine. See where it is, just loses the back end, phases through a cone, thankfully keeps it off the wall there, and we'll be able to get back out on track and rejoin the racing here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, well, James, you know, hate to put you on the spot like this, but you know, you're one of those drivers who you said to me earlier that you've got a lot of experience here at Road Atlanta. I know you've done some sport bike races here, and I know you've done Road of Lemons or however.
24 hours of lemons, but yeah.
Yeah, the 24 hours of lemons, that's the one. So after we watch this battle with Bauer and Brzezinski changing hands, give us your take on really, I guess, the nuances of this track and why it's so difficult, and some of these drivers might be finding it hard.
That
as
was
Brzezinski taking the lead back again.
God, what a beautiful move that was between Brzezinski
Oh,
and Bauer there. As they
really
are
contact.
leaning on each other. So, my goodness. This is what happens when you get real-life racing drivers into a sim where they don't have to pay for any car damage by the time it's all said and done. So a couple of nuances here, Road Atlanta. Turn 1's got a pretty hefty bump through it that these drivers are going to try and avoid to stay on line and carry as much speed as they can. As they charge down the S's, it's pretty much full throttle. They'll do a little bit of a blip with the throttle before going up into turn 5 right here. Spectator Hills coming the left side of the screen. And then we're coming up to what I think is arguably one of the most crucial parts of the track. Right now, Brzezinski and Bauer leading the field into turn 6. But turn 7, right that they're entering now, sets you up for such a big drive down the backstretch. We heard Alejandro talking about how long it is in these spec race cars on the backstretch, just full throttle the whole time. If you have problems coming out of turn 7, you can lose just gobs of momentum. And here's what I consider the final big passing part of the track down the hill into 10A. Bauer takes back over their lead, but Brzezinski's going to drive it in very deep on the brakes. I don't know how he didn't overcook it there. Still keeps his momentum out of 10B and charges down turn 12 to complete a wild lap at Road Atlanta.
I can't believe he made that stick. That looked absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, cheers for giving us the rundown as Brzezinski once again protects that inside line. And once again, side by side, it doesn't go the way he wanted and collects, I believe that was Duringer as well as maybe Ritter.
Yeah. Oh, no. That was, let's see if I can get a replay queued up of that one. It looked like Bauer was a little bit loose there trying to rotate the car. I didn't see any contact. He's a little offline, dips. There it is. Dips the tires in the grass. And then just takes a very long slide there. And unfortunately, Duringer, Ritter, and I think that Bates was also tied up in that one. And that is going to put Brzezinski out front, but not a... Oh, no, Brzezinski's got a 1.6 second margin here.
Yeah, he has checked out following what happened behind. And as a leader, that is possibly the best case scenario. Of course, you don't like to see it as a fellow racer myself, but it's one of those things that he's going to have a bit of a lead now. And as long as he can hold it over McMillian, it seems like he will take it away. But Carwile, let's not forget, he won the race last week, and he's sitting there in third and still finding a lot of competition around him. But if he gets through, don't be too surprised if he finds his way up to the front as well.
Now, Garrett, these drivers are racing on fixed setups, so everybody's on identical machines out on track. As we've got a parking lot in 10A. I saw the incident started with, I think, David Bauer, who takes a tow back to pit road, but I'm going to get that one queued up because that was not a good hit. That was traffic coming into 10A, 10B at speed. And, man, that was not good. So we're focusing in on Bauer. That number 7 machine drives in a little bit too deep. And this is where things are going to get bad. I couldn't tell, was that Bauer that got collected or somebody else? No, it was maybe Lasco?
I think it was Lasco who was involved in that one.
So he was involved in the incident with Bauer. I'm trying to see, was that Lasco? That was a violent hit we saw. Let's see if I can... Oh, yep, just wasn't able to get away from that one. I think that might have been Scott Chaikin who was involved in that head-on collision.
Interesting. Well, we check back up front because it looks like we're gonna once again, I mean, Carwile did get the position on McMillian, but McMillian once again right on the back bumper, deciding not to make a move quite yet, and they've got to be worried because Malone is not too far behind them, as we just had another pass for, I believe it was 5th position. Walligor and Duringer are battling it out pretty hard in that 5th spot. Yeah, looking pretty close still between these 3 drivers. Carwile holding desperately on to the front of that pack, and they've still been... Badzinski's been checking out just a little bit. I believe he's gaining a couple of tenths a lap. So these drivers, while they've been fighting it out, unfortunately, they've been losing time to Badzinski in the top spot.
Now, Gareth, I don't know if you'd be able to answer this or not. We had a fan, Immortan Automotive, asking us, I know it's a fixed setup. Is it a baseline setup, or is it something geared towards Road Atlanta?
I don't think it's anything geared towards Road Atlanta. I'm not sure if it's baseline. It might be a medium downforce setup. I'm not.
I wasn't able to find it either, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they use it based on the tracks themselves or if they use it. I believe it might be the baseline setup. I mean, that does strike a chord with me, but I can't definitely tell you that one way or the other. But it looks like 2 teammates might be having a little bit of a duel.
Yeah, Diringer and Crooks battling for 5th. Right behind them is Patrick Walligor getting shuffled back slightly in the 07 machine, and Diringer is going to get the best deal out of that as he checks out a little bit further away from his teammate. But let's go back up. Still this freight train, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Carwile, McMillian, Malone having quite the battle, and right behind them, Walligor not willing to throw in the towel here, trying to fight back against Dustin Crooks. He's going to take over the 6th place spot in the 04 machine. No, I take it back. The commentator's curse. Crooks takes it back.
Crooks might have sent it a bit too deep, though, and gets over the curbing. They're still side by side. Rubbin is racing, and you're going to have to go single file through the S's here.
Yeah, that's just such a tight portion of racetrack. Realistically, the line is very, very short through there. Very, very narrow, I should more aptly say, on where you can position that car and still keep as much speed up as possible. I'm going to see if I can grab... Yeah, there we go. On board Dustin Crooks, number 21 machine, into turn 6 and 7. Now, these guys are about 1.5 seconds back from Keith Diringer, sitting inside that top 5, but Crooks trying to pick up the draft here, and it looks like he's going to close the gap ever so slightly. And I'm wondering, Gareth, are we going to see a big dive under the brakes into 10A from the pod of that number 21 machine?
He'll definitely be close enough. It's really up to the driver, and he's looking to make that move under heavy braking, trying not to get involved. They're still side by side, though, as they head out of 10B. And still side by side. This gets a little bit tricky because sometimes if you don't allow enough room, you can get caught out in the final corner. And it looks like they've been able to get through that relatively cleanly, but the battle's not done yet.
Yeah, you tend as a driver to want to hug that inside line through turn 12, but especially these lighter cars, if you grab too much curbing there, it kind of upsets the chassis a little bit, causes you to push wide in turn 12. And if you're side by side with another racer, there's nowhere to go at that point. There is a large concrete wall with no safety barrier right outside of T12, and does not lend itself for any exciting moments, but it looks like Wallagore is going to get a bit of a breakaway running 6th and have another battle going on out on track as well. Looks to be a 4-car battle shaping up for 12th. Jason Williams, Logan McDonough, Nathan Crosty, and Keith Roberts in a pretty tidy pack, separated by about a second between the 4 of them here.
Yeah, they're not too far apart. I mean, you know, drafting will definitely be very helpful on the backstretch. It looks like Geidel is catching up pretty quick as well to Chang in the 16th position. So, again, you know, we have battles. We saw this at Sebring last week as well. There are battles all across the circuit, and that's one of the best things that you can see with an event like this, rather than just having, you know, watching up front over and over and over. It's great to see a lot of these drivers, even mid-pack, and even in the, you know, towards the back end, you're still having a lot of great racing out on track, and that is what we've come to watch.
Yeah, this is about to get heated here in the battle for 13th into 10A. McDonough holds about a quarter of a second gap, but Crosty was driving in deep there. Keith Roberts right there in the mix as well, just ahead. Looks like something has happened, though, with Jonathan Edwards, the number 20 machine. Can't tell if that's turn 6. I think it's out of 7. And, man, he's trying to get the power put down, the number 20 machine. And that car was not cooperating at all.
Definitely had some residual grass left over on those rear ends. As you can see, he was trying to put the power down, and it was just all kinds of out of shape. As another big battle, and there's a perfect example of trying to make a pass in a very, very difficult spot. I don't know about you, James. I mean, you'd have more experience than I do, but going up into that turn 2, I want to say a bit of a kink, but it definitely feels like more of that. You can't see. You're a bit unsighted, aren't you, when you're heading up that hill?
Yeah, I don't have experience with that exact line. The motorcycles we run, it would be driver's left there heading up into turn 2. We call it the bus stop. But we don't take the traditional Road Atlanta line, so a little bit different. But you're right, and it's very interesting. I'll see if I can grab an onboard next lap from one of these drivers. Even up turn 1, you're almost crossing the blend line of pit out, which is historically not something you want to do. They always teach us in racer school that, hey, that blend line is a concrete wall. Do not cross it. So let's keep an eye out as we watch Sean Frist, number 19 machine, come through turn 12. Let's go on board and see his line through 1. You hold very, very left here. Get the car to rotate. And then immediately swing back over to the right. So he runs a little bit more swoopy line, not having to use the full extent of the track. And you're right there where the cones are. That's historically where we would go on a motorcycle, and not a lot of time left to make decisions through that section of raceway.
Yeah, you can see there he completely jumped that curbing on the inside and that right-hand kink, and that's definitely going to be an incident point and off track. I can tell you that right now. But once again, the battle for up front is, it looks like Derringer might have had a bit of an issue.
Yeah, let's check that one out. He's fallen way back down to 6. That's allowed Patrick Wallagore and Dustin Crooks to work their way up in the standings. Can't tell if he pushed wide there through 6, but very wisely hops off the racing line. But unfortunately for Derringer, going to lose a couple spots there, and that's going to put McMillion's 28 machine back in podium contention. But Ryan Carwile, I think he has other plans in that 71. He has been keeping the pressure on McMillion for the entire opening half of this race, and I don't think any signs of slowing down here.
Yeah, I think one thing that we might have just missed a little bit earlier, but Malone is actually checked out in that second place spot. So that purple machine must have got around these two at some point and has developed himself quite a gap of about 3 to 4 seconds. So really, I mean, he's done a phenomenal job as these two continue to battle out, and they're just going to cost each other some time here. But there's not going to be any love lost, as they are definitely trying to get that third place spot. Carwile wants to continue his run of straight podiums, but that legit racing team is definitely something that he's going to have to contend with.
Yeah, this is great racing. I mean, that's probably my favorite part about watching the intermingling between real world race car drivers and the sim guys. is one thing is universal. These guys just love racing. It doesn't matter what you're in. They just do it for the competition. And I mean, any good racing, doesn't matter if it's for first or 15th or any personal best you're looking for. Really a lot of fun. And I almost wonder, is Carlisle doing a little bit of bump drafting here?
I think Carlisle's actually pushing McMillian there. You're right. I think they're trying to catch back up to Malone. They have reeled him in a little bit. You could say, I mean, you'd almost be blind behind that machine in front.
Yeah, not a lot of room to look through there. And Carlisle lifts into 10A, 10B, follows that 28 of McMillian back up the hill into turn 12. But I can't say I've seen much road course bump drafting before, Gareth.
Yeah, it's very, very rare, and you definitely have to make sure the car doesn't do anything crazy. Make sure that the bumpers line up a decent way, and the driver in front knows you're going to be doing it, because it can really shake things up in a bad way if done incorrectly. But Carlisle seemingly knows exactly how to get it done. They are closing the gap to McMillian. They've closed up about 6/10 since we were last in this section.
Yeah?
So. Yes, Malone, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Malone, yeah, last time, I wonder if Malone has some sort of problems. The lap prior, clipped off a 136 flat, almost 1.2 seconds slower than the third and fourth place driver. So maybe McMillian and Carlisle, a little impromptu teamwork here to try and track down that number 8 machine. I mean, they've got a little bit over 10, I mean, let's call it 10 minutes on the dot now. If they can keep this up, they might be able to whittle away that 3-second advantage Malone has. Now, unless Budzinski has some sort of terrible problem or has a run-in with traffic, I think he's looking really good here. But let's go on board with Carlisle and just kind of watch this madness at play.
I mean, he's doing a pretty phenomenal job of bump drafting. It almost makes me wonder if he's got a little bit of an oval background himself. It really making me start to wonder that now.
Yeah, I remember watching a IMSA Spec Miata race at Daytona maybe 2 years ago, and I distinctly remember those drivers being told, hey, no more bump drafting on the tri-oval. I don't know if there's a rule against it here at the DRSCCA series, the Sim series, and I mean, I hope they don't put one in if there's not, because this is fantastic. I mean, that's good for looks to be about a quarter of a second a lap.
Yeah, well, I mean, that leads me into another question. You know, with a lot of these guys being real-life racers, surely they can't be doing this in real life, right?
I would imagine not. Maybe we'll get some feedback from some of the fans. We got a bunch of viewers that either drive these cars or watch these racers all the time, so maybe they'll be able to lend us an ear here. All right, I'm going to grab the onboard at the right time. This is out of turn 7. Oh, an off track there for McMillian. Let's see how close Carlisle actually gets. Is there contact made? Oh, for certain.
Definitely. As he is just absolutely pushing McMillian. And, yeah, look, it seems to be working, but I'm not sure if they're going to run out of time before they can catch up to Malone here, because they've got just about 8 minutes left, so I'm not too sure with only probably, what are we looking at, about 6-7 laps. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough.
Now, we had Corey letting us know the spectator side, there's no rule against bump drafting, and in some ways, it's highly encouraged. So good to get some feedback from some of the real-life drivers joining us for the broadcast. Now, and you're right, it doesn't look like they're whittling away that much time against Malone. They gained about 6-7 hundredths of a second the lap prior. Now, I almost wonder as well, does Carlisle think, hey, I've got the pace? Oh, as McMillian has a big moment. I was wondering if Carlisle was maybe waiting to make a move, and he might have just seen the opportunity there.
Yeah, well, if he saw the opportunity, it definitely slipped through his fingers as McMillian was able to keep the car underneath him, and Carlisle also has his own issue, but it looks like he's going to make it work and is throwing it through the inside line and is going to take that spot away. So now it'll be interesting to see if McMillian will bump draft Carlisle right back.
Now, something happened to David Grzinski the lap prior, I think. Whoa.
That's not how that car's supposed to look.
No. Where is he? Is that spectator? Oh my
Oh,
goodness,
no!
the rejoin.
No!
That was Keith Roberts, I think.
Oh, that's heartbreaking to see.
Let's see, I think that was Roberts. Up out of turn 5, and yeah, there she is. So Grzinski's going to take a tow back to pit road. Oh, and the hits just keep coming there, right in front of Spectator Hill. The stewards are going to look down on that one, I think, Gareth.
That, I don't think that much can be said on that one. That's just, yep. As we pan the camera back a little bit, because Schmidt looks like to be under fire from Crooks, who runs very, very wide, but gets back on track pretty quickly, and is trying to take that spot away from Schmidt for the 9th position. But look, I mean, these drivers have been pushing pretty hard for a solid 24 minutes at this point. There's gonna be a little bit of incidents just in regards to fatigue, maybe more than anything else, as I'm not sure just how much these drivers are having to really wheel in these cars, but I know that they have a little bit of aero, but I don't think it's going to be enough to offset just how much wheel input they'll have to do to make these cars go around the circuit. Crooks to the outside now of 6. And he's still going to be there for the outside of 7. And going too wide here is going to be very tight on exit. But it looks like there's plenty of room left by Schmidt. And round goes Crooks.
Yeah, Crooks gets through there clean, carrying plenty of corner speed. Just ahead of them is Fritz and Gross battling for 7th. We've only got a couple laps left here at Road Atlanta, as it's Budzinski, Malone, Carwile. 1, 2, 3, and still great racing as Gross and Fritz side by side in a 10A. Fritz might have given that 69 machine a little bit of a tail tap there, saying, hey, we gotta go. But man, this is great. I mean, you've got Gross and Fritz battling. Behind them, you've got Crooks and Schmidt, and you've also got McDonough and Williams having their own battle for 12th.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've said it before, but there is racing all across the circuit. You know, shout out to Gross. He was telling me, you know, at the end of last race that he was just happy to be in the top 10, or that's where he was aiming for. I mean, now he's fighting, it looks like, for the 6th position, or for the 7th position, I should say. And, I mean, he's got a lot of love from the fans and, you know, doing a phenomenal job so far.
Yeah, these guys have been putting on a great show all across the circuit here. Right ahead of them, Wallagore and Derringer, excuse me, they've been having quite a battle. Now, I know Derringer, that number 29, has had a few off-track excursions here, but looks like he is going to make Wallagore fight for every inch of ground here. And we had another incident reported. Sean Fritz and Andrew Gross must have been involved in something. Let's see how this one pans out into 10A before we grab a replay, because there's another good opportunity for excitement right here.
Absolutely
Ooh,
right.
clean.
As it was clean, but it wasn't going to allow for enough exit speed, and it looks like it's going to be taken straight back by Derringer, who holds on to the 5th place spot for now. And a little bit of contact between the two. There had to have been for that to happen. But
yeah, a little bit of netcode maybe.
Yeah, you're right. Potentially netcode getting itself involved. We are on a racing sim. There is a bit of netcode here and there. The internet will do what it does. And, you know, trying to get all these sims to cooperate with each other, sometimes you have a bit of a moment between the two trying to communicate. But let's go back and see what happened between these two drivers. And it looks like Gross has his individual spin.
Yeah, so far so clean for the both of them. Oh, synchronized drifting through turn 7. And I don't know, maybe Gross target fixated there a little bit. And my goodness, Fritz right back into a hot track. You never want to see that.
But once again, perfect example. Shout out to these drivers for having car control like they do. I mean, to avoid an incident like that happens right in front on the exit of a corner that you are full throttling it before you can even see where you're heading, especially if you're on a single monitor. I mean, that's pretty talented. That has to be said.
Oh,
As I say the
Wallagor.
word talented, and I think I might have just thrown a spanner onto the track, seems like, as Wallagor ran over it and went for a bit of a spin.
The old commentator's curse strikes again, so that might lock in the 5th place spot for Derringer there. He's had a bit of an uphill battle here tonight, but thankfully able to get things somewhat gathered back underneath him. Now let's check back in on Budzinski. He's going to be making his way through lap traffic. I believe that is Delatorre in the 99.
Yep. Sorry about that, James.
Yeah, no worries. So Budzinski having to navigate traffic as well as the track here, and hasn't slowed down much. Last time by a 134.5. That is right in line with a lot of the other lap times we've been seeing. And from what I heard from the drivers before tonight and after the Monday practice, was tire wear was a major concern for a lot of these guys. So I think that's going to explain why the lap times are starting to fall off a little bit from what we've seen.
Yeah, that was a major concern with some of these drivers heading out at the end of our Sebring race last week as well. The temps were a bit hot and the tires were burning up quite quickly. So that's just another aspect of racing that gets overlooked sometimes, is when you're driving on the ragged edge for so long, there's only so much rubber to be given, and eventually you just run out, as the white flag has been given right there. So we will have one more lap as Budzinski takes the flag and is going to give us one extra lap. But we're going to have a look. I believe Gross is still involved in a pretty good battle here now with Shade.
Yeah, it's going to be the battle for that final top 10 spot right now. Shabe holds about 3/4 of a second advantage, but I'm thinking Gross, he's got some. Look at the front ends pushed in on the 69 machine. He is losing tons of time on the backstretch, and a track that you need aero underneath you on the backstretch. Gross just not going to be able to do anything with it there. I mean, he bled off, I think, almost 3 full seconds behind Shabe in that 24.
Yeah, that's certainly trying to stay out on track and not come into pit road as we are on our final lap. So he's going to try his best to stay out there as long as possible and hopefully not lose too many spots. But our biggest mover of the race so far is also Logan McDonough, or McDonough, I believe is probably the proper way to say it. He's up 13 spots since the start of this race. So I mean, that shows you, where some people may have a few incidents. If you can keep the racing clean, you will make up some spots, and he's been clicking off laps pretty consistently as Budzinski is heading towards the line.
Yeah, Budzinski, Mr. Consistency tonight, 91, qualified on pole, and is going to bring home the checkered here, Road Atlanta, round 2 of the season, finishing almost 14 seconds up over the rest of the field. No time for cooldowns, no time for victory laps. Budzinski pulls over, throws the hand out the window, and says, "Thank you, good night," as he quickly retires. Matthew Malone's going to bring it home in second, and Ryan Carwile will round out the top 3.
Yeah, I believe that was a bit of redemption for Budzinski, if memory serves me right. I believe it does. He was the driver involved in a bit of an incident between him and Soto, as they were racing so well up front at the Sebring race last week. So he's going to be, I'm sure, very happy with that result.
We're going to try and get these top 3 drivers up here to victory lane for their podium interviews. Great racing all across the track. I mean, you got to call the action at Sebring. I got to join you for Atlanta. I'm excited for this season. These guys put on a show each and every week so far.
Yeah, the racing is just it's almost out of this world. It's really good, and a couple times cars come together, but it has to be said, and it was said last week as well, but in case you missed it, some of these drivers aren't sim racers at all, and that was the whole point. We're trying to bridge that gap between real life racing and sim racers. Some of these guys have been sim racers, some of these guys have been real life racers. They're coming together on one system, and there's going to be a bit of feeling each other out, getting used to each other. It is only season 1, so we will have a little bit of elbows out where a little bit more often. But I tell you what, I mean, with a lot of the side-by-sides we saw with very little contact in regards to how often we saw drivers around each other, I think we're in for a very consistent, strong season.
Yeah, this is going to be good. I'm super excited. Now, we're still waiting to get these drivers up here to victory lane. We're waiting on Budzinski, Malone, and Carwile to make their way to the waiting room. And while we're waiting here, kind of in limbo, huge tip of the hat to the fans that came out tonight. That was a ton of support for your favorite drivers. So very much appreciated from me as a broadcaster, seeing the support for all of these drivers. I mean, these guys came out and put on a great show for you tonight. So super excited for future races as trying to get these drivers up here to victory lane. Did it take this long last week, Gareth?
I believe last week I had to go. There we go. Carwile's at least in there, so we got one. We're, we're starting up, but yeah, I think I sent out a message at the end of last race, which I haven't done this race, if I'm perfectly honest with you, to get some of these drivers in here. But hopefully, Budzinski and Malone join us fairly shortly. But yeah, I mean, look, the racing in this series has been absolutely amazing, and you know, um, John Cruz also letting us know in the spectator area that it's, what an awesome event, and he's absolutely right. It's been a fantastic race, and I've been told before that I need more adjectives, and I think that's as plain as day to see right now, James.
Well, it was a great race from all these guys. It looks like we've got Malone, we've got Carwile, still waiting on Budzinski to make his way up here. So we're going to hit him with a third and final call.
Yeah, we'll just wait for a couple of these drivers. Again, just waiting for Budzinski. Hopefully he makes his way through. There's a chance sometimes that some of these drivers want to focus on their racing and they don't want to get up in the booth, and that is perfectly okay for them. And I believe we might have that issue again, James. So we might have to move it on.
So we'll get you started off interviewing Ryan Carwile, and then I'll take over Matthew Malone. But take it away, Gareth, as we've got Ryan Carwile joining us up here in the booth.
All right, Ryan, welcome to the booth. It's a pleasure to have you up here, and you must be thrilled. 2 podiums in a row, not a first, but definitely a third place finish is I mean, it's just great to talk to you again.
Yeah, I'm really happy about the third place finish. Just a little bit disappointed in that self spin that gave up a chance at second, but I'll take a third anytime.
Yeah, now let us know what your thoughts on going around Road Atlanta, especially with McMillian, because we really wanted to know what was your idea behind the bump drafting there that we definitely got a good look at for a few laps.
Well, anytime you're side by side, especially in these cars, you slow down quite a lot, and I think if you're just a little bit different in pace, where the back guy is just a little bit faster than the guy in front, you can really make up some time. But you make a few mistakes and it kind of kills it. So, but I mean, we made some time, a couple laps for sure.
Look, it looked like a solid race from you, though. I know maybe an incident or two that you weren't too happy about, but either way, it was a really good one to watch. And we are happy to talk to you once again. Before we let you go, who would you like to shout out? Friends, family, sponsors? The floor's yours once again, Ryan.
I'll just shout out my mom and dad again.
All right, sounds good. Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the booth. And I guess we look forward to maybe talking to you next week at Virginia International Raceway.
Thanks, looking forward to it.
All right, that was Ryan Carwile bring it home in the third position. Next up, Matthew Malone. And I believe I might hand this one over to James if you want to take over this one.
Matthew, welcome to the top 3, my friend. A great run out of that number 8 machine. A relatively clean race for you, up 4 spots, and able to keep your nose clean when we saw so many other drivers face issues here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, it was nice to watch some of the destruction and not be a part of it.
Now, Matthew, I mean, yeah, that's part of it is not putting yourself too much in the vortex of danger. So with these spec cars on a sim, how do you kind of know when to push the issue and maybe hang back a little bit and watch the other guys throw some elbows at each other?
I look at qualifying times, practice times a lot. If they're running around what I'm running, I'll generally just stay behind them and push them for the majority of the race, at least till the end of it. At least
Well,
for me.
it seemed like it worked out well for you. The race strategy paying out very, very well. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew. Were you at round 1 at Sebring? Because I'm looking for the points, and unfortunately, I don't see on the board here.
Unfortunately, I was not. We found out about the league, me and my buddies, about 3 days ago. So.
Well, hey, glad you
joined up. And
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Glad
Yeah,
to be
glad
here.
you made it out and put on a great show. But now all of a sudden, find yourself with massive points behind you and the number 8 machine. So, what's the plans for the rest of the season? Are we gonna see that number 8 out on track more often here?
Yeah, that is definitely the plan. Maybe even put a little more practice in coming next week. A couple of the tracks I haven't been at, so it'll be a surprise. Let's see what happens.
Awesome. Well, Matthew, I'm looking forward to it as well as the fans at home. Before I let you go and unwind from that one, who do you want to give a shout to that helps bring home this first podium for you and the team?
I mean, I'll take that to my buddy Jay and Dom. They both kart racing buddies of mine. They told me to come join the league, so I take them. They're fellow racers. I think they finished 15th and I don't know, something.
Well, awesome. Matthew, pleasure having you up here for the first time. Hopefully many more to come, and congratulations again on second here tonight at Road Atlanta.
Thanks, guys.
And that was Matthew Malone bringing it home in second. But Gareth, now you've got the privilege and the pleasure interviewing the man of the hour. Welcome, Elliot Bazinski, and a massive win in the 91.
Yeah, thank you. No, it was good. Just you know, bit of fortune to have the people behind kind of make a couple mistakes, and then was able to just pull a gap the whole race. So it's pretty easy cruising once it broke the toe.
Yeah, Elliot, you must be feeling like you've got a bit of redemption after what happened last week with Soto, and it's nice to finally see that 91 machine up in the top spot. Give us an idea, if you can, about basically what the nuances were of this track and where it was the right place to push and how the car felt underneath you and what your tire situation was. I don't know, just the general vibe.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, you kind of have to look after the tires a bit because after about lap 4, 5-ish, they start dropping off quite a bit. You get a bit understeer, but I mean, it's more just about backing things up and letting the car roll. Like you can't really over push it, and yeah, just gotta let the car roll, be gentle on it, and the pace will come. So no, it's fun to drive, especially when you get into big packs. Luckily, my life was made a bit easier today, but yeah, I'm happy with it. Bit of redemption after Sebring, so for
Yeah,
sure it's good.
it definitely looked that way, and it was nice to see you up front once again, clicking off laps and doing so at the front. Now, we did see that you didn't take quite, of course, I'm going to say this as we see on the replay that you are doing it, but we saw throughout the race you didn't catch as many curbs as some of the other drivers just behind. Was that really the main focus of tonight? Just like you said, just making it, just going around the course a bit more gentle and letting the car do its thing?
Yeah, I don't know if it was the main focus per se, but the curbs here can be quite rough if anyone who's driven an iRacing knows. So yeah, it's just you make less mistakes. Like maybe there's a half a tenth here, half a tenth there, but um, if you clip a curb wrong and then lose 2 or 3 tenths, it's not really worth it in the end. So yeah, I think it's more just um, mistake prevention more than anything else, even if there's a bit more pace out of it. So yeah, just
All
bit
right.
cruising.
All right, sounds good. Well, Elliot, we'll let you go, but before we do, who would you like to thank? Friends, family, sponsors. The floor's yours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just want to say thank you guys for putting this on and really everyone that's running it and makes it a fun fun night. So, yeah, thanks to you guys, and really thanks to everyone watching.
All right, well spoken, Elliot. Thank you for joining us up here in the booth, and we look forward to seeing you potentially again at VIR. What do you think your chances are for that one?
I don't know. I think VIR is definitely going to be a bit more, more toe, more draft than even Red Atlanta. So, um, all bets are off with that one. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to it for sure. There's going to be a big group of people fighting for it. So just going to try and be smart and have some fun.
All right, sounds good. Good luck with that, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
You too. All right, that was Elliot Budzinski bringing it home in the top spot. James, I don't know if you have a whole lot more to add to the end of the broadcast, but I personally would like to thank a lot of people for tuning in, and it's been absolutely amazing as always broadcasting a show with you, James.
Yeah, I mean, what a great show these racers put on for us here tonight, round 2 of the season, Road to Atlanta. We had big moves. We had guys that unfortunately had more problems than not, but then we had big chargers like Logan and that number 23 machine up 13 spots. Bazinski, his first win. Malone, his first podium. Carwile back in the points. And, man, these guys put on a great show all night long.
Absolutely did. So I guess I'll do the send-offs then, James, if you would like me to do that. Thanks to everyone coming out and joining us here for the Detroit Region Sports Car Club of America Sim Racing Series. On behalf of myself, Gareth McAllister, and James East up here in the booth from Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, thank you very much for tuning in, and I guess we'll get ready to see you next week. Make sure you don't miss it.